All right, we have more changes unfolding over at the Department of Homeland Security. Changes that just caught the Biden-Harris administration red-handed in their scheme to fly 30,000 migrants into this country each month, something that was supposed to be on the up and up. Questions have been swirling about this program for the last year, how it's possible they can legally do this, where the hell are they getting these 30,000 American sponsors each month to accept these migrants? Well, these questions were just answered. The program just shut down due to massive fraud, and guess whose fingerprints are all over this? The new Democrat nominee for president. Wait till you hear about this. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So for decades, the topic of illegal immigration, it's been front and center in our politics. President after president, candidate after candidate pitched their ideas and policy plans to solve the crisis at the southern border, stop the illegal invasion into the U.S. At present, it's estimated there could be up to 30 million migrants in this country illegally. That's 10%, folks, of our country's population. 10%. For years, ever since I can remember, politicians promised to solve this. Well, 5 years ago in 2019, one side of the problem was all but fixed. The flow of illegal crossings dropped to around 50,000 migrants per month. Now, that may sound like a lot, but it's not really when you look at it. That's one of the lowest on record. It's a manageable number for Border Patrol. And like clockwork, as soon as the election was over and Biden and Harris were sworn into office on January 7th, 2020, take a look at what happened. They immediately canceled the agreement Trump made with Mexico for catch and release in Mexico, where if you're caught illegally entering the southern border, you're immediately sent back across the border and released back into Mexico, where you wait. Biden-Harris, they canceled that on day one, reinstated Obama's catch and release into the interior of the U.S., and the rest is history. You could see the numbers for yourself. What I do know, though, for sure, is that illegal immigration today is worse than it's ever been. 2024, it's going to mark the highest number of illegal crossings in U.S. history, estimated to be around 4 to 4.5 million new people, new illegal migrants in this country by the end of the year. And during the complete utter mess that Biden-Harris made down there in the midst of the chaos in 2022, when the numbers first really shot up, Joe Biden had to get out ahead of it. He had to try to appear like he was doing something to fix it. So what did he do? He tasked his vice president to solve the problem, crowning Kamala Harris as US Border Czar. Watch.
Meantime, Vice President and Border Czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed Border Czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the Border Czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the Border Czar. She wasn't the Border Czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the Border Czar.
Now, she wasn't the Border Czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as Border Czar.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Right after Kamala became the Border Czar, she met with leaders at DHS, the Pentagon, Border Patrol, including then Secretary Mayorkas, Alejandro Mayorkas himself, to go over the options or ideas and ways to fix this. At least that's what they told the press when they were asked about the meeting. But behind closed doors, what they came up with wasn't a solution to stop illegal immigration. It was a way to hide the real numbers, stop the media coverage, which was the real goal, that was showing these massive caravans illegally crossing and battling with Border Patrol. The plan that they came up with was to unload a portion of these crossings by air instead of land, carve out 30,000 people a month from the hundreds of thousands that were crossing each month and fly them into the U.S. under cover of darkness using military aircraft. The flights untraceable as they're U.S. military aircraft, and so the scheme began, folks. But that's only the public version. We all know about that. That's been reported on for the last year, because to do this legally, they needed to have Americans sponsors, regular Americans sponsor each migrant that they flew, guarantee financial support to that migrant. Well, how the hell would they find 30,000 new Americans each month to sponsor this? All while keeping it quiet, because remember, that was the point of this, was to stop the negative press coverage. The last thing they wanted was to cause an even bigger scandal. Well, you can't make this up. Get this, they apparently committed fraud. Those 30,000 American sponsors each month, around 80% of them were fake, completely made up people. Americans who had died years before, others completely fake addresses, fake social security numbers. Like, we're talking complete fraud here, folks. Take a look at this. Quote, Biden administration freezes highly controversial migrant flight program after staggering flaw in the application process was revealed. The Biden administration has paused a controversial program that was flying hundreds of thousands of immigrants to the U.S. per year after massive fraud was discovered. Department of Homeland Security officials confirmed Friday that it temporarily halted the scheme that allows up to 30,000 nationals from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to enter the country each month. The sudden freeze of the contentious plan comes after an internal DHS report revealed rampant fraud among the sponsors paying for the migrants to come to the country. A source familiar with the report told Fox News. And remember how they needed one American sponsor for each migrant that they flew into the country each month? Well, look at this. Quote, it will give the agency time to investigate if fraud has occurred in their supporter applications, which are forms filled by individuals who, quote, agree to provide financial support to a beneficiary and undergo background checks. Just 3,200 individual sponsors signed up to support roughly 101,000 migrants, according to the report, prompting concerns at DHS that the system's being abused. The report indicating fraud also shockingly found that some of the names used to fill out sponsor forms belong to dead people. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And it gets worse, folks. Quote, additionally, storage units were found to be the home address for some sponsor applications, while certain phone numbers were used on thousands of applications. Almost 3,000 sponsor applications were filled out using fake zip codes. All of this being made public one day, just one day after Kamala Harris becomes officially the new Democratic nominee for president. All of it falling straight into Kamala's lap. She's the border czar, folks. She was in on that meeting. She was the decision maker. The buck stops with her. And remember, it was Kamala who asked for more responsibility back in 2022. She was irked how Biden was keeping her out of the loop, giving her these menial tasks to do. Well, she got what she wanted, to head up border policy, which she utterly butchered and screwed up. And now she's caught right in the middle of a massive scandal and possibly fraud to fly hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants into the country, achieving it by using dead people as fake sponsors. Tell me that doesn't sound familiar. Sounds like something we've seen a few times, right? And look, they're doing an investigation, they say, to uncover who's behind this, how this happened, blah, blah, blah. Let's not have any illusions. They're going to cover this up like they do everything else. If they need to, they'll throw someone under the bus as a scapegoat. And lucky for them, they have the perfect person, impeached Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas. Unfortunately, Kamala is now the Democratic nominee, so she's an untouchable. Virtually an untouchable. But the stink of this won't just wash away. Illegal immigration is now the top issue on voters' minds, and she's now inextricably linked to it. All right, that wraps up this video. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.